back, and this is Brian. We just got back from an incredibly good time at Dice Tower Con, I think. Dice Tower 2016, Dice Tower 5. We've let a lot of great games in. We're going to talk to you about that in the next couple of weeks. But we are here at the Cloak and Blaster again. High five, Cloak and Blaster. We just got done playing Game of Energy. Join us for Game of Energy. Brian Fiore.
Yes.
Sit down. Tell us about building power for a Starving World Game of Energy.
Sure. Game of Energy. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It's an engine, an economic game actually, in which the general premise is that there's an energy crisis that's looming on the horizon, and each of the players are assuming one of the heads of the industry of the different types of alternative energy sources and fossil fuels and the whole gamut of the different energy sources. They're assuming the role of one of the heads of industry, and you're going to try to build enough power plants and solar panels, windmills, hydroelectric power, everything that you can imagine in order to satisfy the energy requirements that are going to be needed for society once that energy crisis hits, but at the same time while being socially responsible and getting the best return for your money in the process. So there's a little bit of balancing that takes place. Basically, how it happens is there's 3 things that you do during your turn. Before that, and as part of the setup of the game, I said before there was the heads of industry. So there's like, I think about 10 different cards, in which that is basically your leader, and they have like a leader power that you can use each turn. So you're going to deal them out randomly to each player. They're going to each player gets 2, and they select their favorite one that's going to have the ability that they're going to want to use, and you can use that ability every turn if you can. And then you put the others aside, and everyone starts with about 110 investment credits, or energy credits is what it's called. And the game takes place over, it's a scalable number of turns based on the number of players, but for 2 players it was 8 turns. And there's also, the end of the game can either be triggered by that, or it can be triggered by whoever reaches the total kilowatt hours, terawatt hours I believe it was, which is kind of like the victory point track along the way. So over the whole course of the game, you're constantly making decisions as to, okay, do I want to invest in power plants or activities that are going to give me the best energy production, which are the victory points or the terawatt hours, or do I want the ones that are going to give me the best financial return so that I can keep investing more and more money in later rounds? There's basically 3 things that you're going to do during your turn. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw grid cards off the top of the deck. And grid cards are going to either, there's a couple of different kinds. One of them is like a boon for all players, and it's going to give you like all people who have any type of installation on a tundra area on the map. For each installation of a certain kind, like say solar panels, you're going to get 10 energy credits or something like that, and there'll be a limit on that. That's like the green cards help everybody. There's red cards that it's like a hurricane or something like that, and it's gonna hurt everyone in a certain area if they have, up to a certain number of things. There's orange cards which allow you to steal some credits based on the same kind of parameters. And then there's blue cards, which is just basically like just get 10 energy credits this turn, and I think there's one other color, but that's basically the grid cards. The first thing you do during your turn is draw the grid cards. The second thing you do during your turn is you collect your money. So whatever type of installation you've put out, it's going to generate so much currency for you at the beginning of every turn. And that's tracked on a wheel up on the top of the game board. And then the third thing you're going to do is you're going to roll the dice, and the dice is going to then tell you, okay, this is the type of terrain that I can place my installations on for this turn, or it's going to come up with a special investment opportunity for you. And then there's a separate deck of cards you could draw from that, and you're either going to basically make money or lose money, but it also acts as a wild, so you're going to be able to then choose the different types of terrain, choose the one type of terrain where you're going to place your installations for that turn. Also, as part of that, you then have to decide, okay, now I get to spend the money that I previously earned, and there's some limitations in place. So on the board, you can only fit so many types of installations in a certain area and a certain environment. So that's one limitation. The other one is there are little reference cards which tell you how much things are going to cost and how much terawatt hours or victory points you're going to get for building it and how much cash flow you're going to increase on the currency track. But the other limitations include, like, you can only buy one power plant or one nuclear power plant per turn. You can only buy like 3 fossil fuel per turn, and there's also an overall limit of 5. You can buy no more than 5 types of installations or industries per turn. So you got to take all that into account when you're trying to maximize the amount of cash flow that you're going to get, or maximize the amount of terawatt hours or victory points that you can get. And with that, Patrick, what would you say is your favorite thing about Game of Energy?
The graphic art, I think, looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the card art, I really do, especially the red cards, that kind of beautiful swirl of red in the background. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. The board art's pretty nice. It comes with this big, giant, expansive board that I'm kind of digging. So I'm going to say the hats off to the graphic art is mine. And if there's one thing that you like the most,
my favorite thing about the game is I think it gets into that realm of like edutainment, and it just kind of brings like social responsibility and alternative energy fuels like to the game table, and just gets people talking about that. Like, hey, it's cool to build windmills and solar panels and hydroelectric power and nuclear power plants, that are worth a lot of points and stuff, despite some of the catastrophes that could happen. But I think it just opens up discussion, and it's socially responsible. So I think it's a good edutainment, I would say, is my favorite thing. But what would you say is the thing that you liked least about Game of Energy?
There's not a ton of decision making. So the game kind of unfolds as it goes, and if you pay attention to your cards, you'll be able to find what's going to be the most cost effective for you to buy in what situations. So I would say it's that I don't feel like I'm immersed making the decisions that cause reactions in the game. It's more like trying to avoid making big mistakes by, just keeping tally of points. So what would you think is the thing that you like the least?
The thing that I think I like the least in the game, and I do have to admit that this is a prototype, and there are going to be, I think, a couple of rules tweaks, or at least alternative rules that are going to be added in the future. But the thing that I like the least is that in the different regions or areas, it's laid out in a hex pattern, and when you put your industries down or your installations down, they're not like locked down to that permanent the way that you originally place it. And so you can kind of shift your stuff later around. As long as it fits inside the borders overall, you're okay. But I was kind of thinking it would be nice that if when you did put it down, it was locked down, it would add, I think, a whole nother layer of strategic decisions that you could make, because you could tie up the space and not only reduce the capacity of the area, but you could actually like stop other players from being able to play there. I think, and that might increase the player interaction or the aggressive nature. And it's not necessarily, it's the passive aggressive, so it kind of fits, I think, still the Euro type of game that this definitely feels like. But I think it would add an extra layer of strategy, and it doesn't have that now, but I think that they are going to be introducing another type of optional grid card, which allows a little more kind of take that in the game.
There's an expansion, I think, that's going to dominate some of that real estate as well.
Okay, that might take up some more space, I think, the dummy corporations. But again, the Game of Energy will be coming to Kickstarter very, very soon, so make sure you jump over there and take a look, and back for your copy.
I'm Patrick, this is Brian, fresh from Dice Tower 2016. Well, not fresh. I have some watch.
And we're all energized after...
we're energized.
Yeah.
At the Cloak and Blaster. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry, believing the eyes are the windows of the soul. He does his best to shine sunlight on his soul daily. That's the flavor text for the Sun Gazer.
The Sun what?
Sun Gazer.
That sounds like it's from Ghostbusters.
It's Gozer.
Oh.
You be my key holder? Shine sunlight on his soul daily.
I like my quote better. A bright smile, charisma, and a lack of morals can do wonders for your wallet.
That one's way better.
But it fits the edutainment. I mean, it's true.
I'm shining brightly on my soul every day. These are.
Let me know how that works for you.
What kind of production is this?